And it's interesting, the more that I think about it as we're sitting here talking, a lot of those descriptions and a lot of the ways that it showcased that property, AI doesn't know the property. What it was doing was saying, hey, you know what, based on these little features that I know and knowing who the buyer that would most likely buy this house is, it could very easily go down, this is the perfect work from home. This is the perfect place to start a family. It could easily go down those routes if you're not careful.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspired you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. As always, his name is Garrett Fry. My name is Matt Bonelli, and we are so pumped that you guys have decided to join us today. If you are brand new to the podcast, this was shared with you, if you stumbled on it, go ahead and hop into your app store and download the Life at 10 Tenths app. There you'll get access into some additional stuff, some more information about what we're all about. And also you can see more detail on our podcast episodes, comment on them, and interact directly with Garrett and myself. And we would love to see you in there. And thank you all for our returning listeners. You guys rock. And Garrett, we have a fun episode today because in this crazy world of AI development and all of these deep fakes and things like that, there is something that we can't get around, and that is the physical experience of a home. Yeah. And we want to make sure we don't miss the mark. So I'm excited to talk about this with you. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Well, I'm really excited to go down this path because, again, we banter all the time. Matt, for any of you that don't know this, Matt and I talk way more than just the podcast. And yes, we're always sharing ideas. We're always looking at what are we seeing happen out here? What are the experience of realtors and their consumers, and what are they running up against? And we went down a fun track because we've been watching people saying well, I've got this great home. People are loving it online. They're loving what's showing up there, but they're getting to it and they're not pulling the trigger. They're not writing contracts. What am I missing? What am I doing? And Matt, you brought up, which I think this is great. You brought up this place of I remember this a while back where we started leveling up photography. And it kept getting better and better. And then people were saying, wait, I'm going to these homes and they're not as good or not as nice as they were in the photos. And I think this is an area we are tiptoeing, dancing around right now with AI because, I love AI. I use it in all types of things. But at the same point, you can over fluffy something up. And all of a sudden, people are going, wait. Amazing description of this property, but that must have been written with AI. Okay, I got it. By the way, nobody buys homes based on the description. So let me back up here real quick. All of you that are using AI to go it's going to write a description that's going to bring in all these new buyers. No, it's not. Nobody reads the descriptions. Realtors read the descriptions. The consumers do not. Sorry, I got to get that out of my system. But pictures people do buy, and I've watched a lot of people use AI to, doctor up photos and things like that and make them look, really, really, really cool. And you got to be really careful. By the way, also seen AI change things in photos. And if you're not careful, you might have just sold a house with a wolf range that it never had a wolf range. That happened the other day. I was like, no.
No, that's not what's there. Well, and this is where we got to back it up, right? Yeah. And I remember having this conversation with agents in the 2010s when we had people who wouldn't want to hire a particular photographer because the feedback was he makes the house look too good. And when people go to the house, they're underwhelmed. They're it didn't look as good as the photos. And I said, well, instead of dumbing down the photos, how about we just
imagine that? Can you make your photos a little crappier right now? Because I can't.
That was a literal request. You're making the house look too good. It's fake. It's feeling fake. And it's well, accelerate, 10 years and look at where we're at now. And the thing is, why don't we just back it up with a really awesome physical experience in the house? Because I agree with you, Garrett, creative, or I should say created descriptions that are more detailed and things like that aren't what sell, but stories and experiences do. And for from a story perspective, it just made me think of this. Like there was this ad for a Nissan Xterra that was on Craigslist. This was back in, gosh, had to be like 2002, 2003, whatever. Someone had put their used, and like it had the best story ever. And it was catered towards a target buyer that is a ninja who wants to fire automatic machine guns out the window with one hand, which is why the car was an automatic, all this crazy stuff. And like it made its rounds around the internet. It was awesome and hilarious. Now, I don't know if it actually helped sell the car, but I bet that someone did see that and be like, if I'm going to buy an Xterra, that is the Xterra that I want to buy, right? And so it gets it in there. But then if he went to see the Xterra and it looked old and tired and didn't have the experience to make you feel like a ninja while you're driving it, well, it probably wouldn't sell. And the same thing, we do this with these homes right now. I see a lot of these pumping up all these things, and there are stories we can extract, but then you got to back it up with when the experience comes in, walking through that front door. If it's underwhelmed, like now all of a sudden expectations are here and we went down. And that is creating an energy that even if the house is great, is going to make people pull back from wanting to write an offer.
So let's go back to the old saying, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, we're in a society right now that we used to see a video online and we'd be like, oh, that actually happened.
Yeah.
In a very short amount of time right now, all of us see a video online and we go, is that real? I'm not sure if that's real. There are ones, Matt, I was sharing one with you that it was a news reporter, and she's standing in like waist deep water and she's like, there's a flood in this town and oh my gosh. And then all of a sudden a dolphin swims by behind her and she goes, oh, by the way, this isn't real. And those moments are making all of us become very skeptical of the things that we're seeing, the print ads that we're seeing, the advertising that are going out. And so it's really important. Matt, you said the word experience is probably going to become the bigger factor here, is that I believe it when I see it is now turning into, I will believe it when I'm standing in front of it in real time. And I think that this is an area that a lot of people are getting themselves into some trouble and they don't even realize it, because they're beautifying these things on an online platform to a level that is awesome. And I think there's a ton of value in it, but you better be able to back it up when somebody walks in that door. I agree with you. Don't dumb down how awesome you made this look. I would sit down with my seller and say, all right, here's all the marketing that we just made. Here's the light that we can put your house in. But I need to make sure that that is represented when people come into this house. So now let's work together to make sure that this amazing marketing backs up the product that we actually have here. Because if it doesn't, we're going to have people walk in and go, something's off. I mean, it was beautiful. I loved it, but it doesn't match up. It has to match up.
Yeah. Or they're just going to walk in and be like, yeah, I don't feel it. Right. It just doesn't feel like I thought it would feel. And here's the thing, like, I love all of the creative tools that we have. I love the ability to create virtual tours. I love all the things that we have to help people pre-experience, I should say, a property, a neighborhood, all of these things, because it can bring the hype up. But when we think about how humans make decisions, right? And if our expectations go from a higher to a lower level, our energy shifts, which is going to change our motivation to do things. If we go from a lower to a higher level, our energy also shifts. So we're in this like weird kind of like, gosh, I don't want to oversell something before they come. And it's the old adage of under promise, over deliver. Now, in the age of trying to get as much attention as possible, everybody wants all of the stuff on the front side. And I think we should still go for it, but don't forget to make it amazing on the backside. And people are like, well, how do I make it amazing? Well, this is where like staging comes in. People are starting to get a little lazy with staging. I'm like, no, we need the best staging. We need an awesome experience. Like, ask more questions about the buyers before they come in.
They got lazy with staging because the days on market. Well, I don't want to pay for staging if I have to like have this in the house for more time. And then all of a sudden we get crappier and crappier and crappier services showing up, which is then also extending out days on market, making the property not show up in the best way. And it's like, hold on a second here. Even in the craziest of crazy inventory markets I've been in, you can still sell a house in 30 days. That should still be the goal, is to get this thing under contract in 30 days, which means we shouldn't be spending 6 months on staging. If you're spending 6 months on staging, you are, well, everybody's probably going like, nobody's doing that yet. It can happen in certain markets.
And that's where you have to be creative.
Don't go in with that plan. The plan should be, and I liked this kind of idea, Matt, of like when that experience happens, when they show up, like a better match. It's a really great, you could almost draw it out and just be like, okay, here's the initial hook that got the people's attention when they looked at it online. Now they're going to take that next step. Does it level up or level down in that next step? Okay, now they're going to take the next step. Does it level up or does it level down? And I think anywhere you find that it levels down, that is a danger point in the process, where if all of a sudden they walk in, they go, oh my gosh, we're so excited that we get to finally see the inside of this house. And they walk in and they go, oh, well, yeah, I mean, it's nice. Like, that is detrimental to where these people were. You need to have it so that it goes one step up and they go, not only is it that, but oh my gosh, and it backs it up and it backs it up. And those are the properties that sell. Those are the ones that get the contracts. You wonder why you have a property that's sitting right now not getting contracts. I guarantee you somewhere in there, it's leveling down and not leveling up.
Yeah. And I think then on the other side of this too, Garrett, we have to be honest with the product that we have. And this is where you can oversell something on the front side. And it's not about having too beautiful of a picture or, an awesome video or, this incredible story that you wrote. That's not the problem. The problem comes when we say it's something that it's not, right? Like saying like, man, this house is just like the ideal work from home property and there's no office. It's like, it's not the ideal work from home property. Or like, oh, this is going to be the best place, like to just have that outdoor experience, and it's the smallest yard in the neighborhood. It's like, no, it's not that. And this is where when you are getting creative on the front side too, we have to really look at and see, well, what is, and we did a whole episode on this, finding the real story of that property and being honest about it. Cause then you're going to attract the right buyer. Cause usually those things match up when you start looking at all the features. Remember, there's only a handful of things that buyers are truly evaluating to understand the value. Price is one of those things, but the size, the condition, the location, and then the features and the amenities. You can't change. I mean, you can change these things with money, but you can't change them right then and there. So find the things that speak to the right buyer and tell that story, showcase that experience. So when they get there, they're like, this is awesome. Like if somebody had said to me when I rented, my 750 square foot apartment, like, this is a great place to start a family, I'd walk in and be like, no, this is not the place to start a family. This is great for a young couple living in the city with dogs, right? It's like, cool. Like, that's great, but like probably not the best apartment to start a family in, right? I mean, we just got to be honest up front and carry it through to that physical experience, Gary.
I remember those days, Matt, talking to you where you were having to take the dogs out for walks in your apartment on the, what floor were you on?
35, I think at that time when we were talking. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that very clearly. All right. So I think, when you look at using some of these tools and these, like, and again, we're just going to talk AI here for a second, because I feel a lot of people are using that to help build up some of these listings that they have and showcase some of these properties that they're putting out. The ones that I've found, and we actually talked about this when it first came out. I said, find what the buyer persona would be for the property, and then say, hey, can you write a property description or tell a story that would appeal to that buyer persona? And it's interesting, the more that I think about it as we're sitting here talking, a lot of those descriptions and a lot of the ways that it showcased that property, AI doesn't know the property. What it was doing was saying, hey, you know what? Based on these little features that I know and knowing who the buyer that would most likely buy this house is, it could very easily go down, this is the perfect work from home. This is the perfect place to start a family. Like, it could easily go down those routes if you're not careful. Where on the other side of it, the people that I found that actually, Matt, were getting really good results of writing ads and copy for their properties, they were walking through it with a microphone, talking about the house, recording their, here's what my experience of this backyard is. Here's what this looks like. Okay, let's walk in the front door. What are the first things that I see when I walk in the front door? And what is the view and this and that? And what does the front room look like as I walk into it? And who like would love this experience of this place? Then they took all that and they throw it into AI and say, using my description of all of this and knowing who the persona, the most likely buyers, and all these things, packaging it all together, now it's got something that probably is going to better resonate with who's walking in that front door and going to see that property for the first time. And I think this is like, this is where I look at like AI and I say, I love AI, but it doesn't get you all the way there. It can actually be very misleading. It can take you down all sorts of weird paths. And it'll get you about 75, 80% of the way there. And then, yeah, you better bring in the extra, let's just say 20% to bring it home. You have to. Otherwise, you could be overselling something.
Yeah. I mean, these are tools. They're tools to use. And what you just described is a great way to do it. And I see this opportunity, Garrett, of if we want to talk about collaboration of buyer's agents and seller's agents, think about the custom experiences you could deliver for very little effort and very little money, if no money at all. If you have showings lined up and you know what these buyers are looking for, what's ideal for them, you can create a custom experience for them. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. They're like, well, but you're not going to go restage the house every time for the different type of buyers. Like, no, you're just going to highlight the things that would make sense. If you know that the buyers coming in are a dual income household who both work from home, what we're going to want to make sure is that they experience the opportunity to have two separate working spaces where they're not tripping over each other if that's what they need. And this is where if buyer and seller agent collaborate and talk, which doesn't take much time. You're like talking about a short conversation here or simple, showing request forms and things that you can have to fill out. Cause like the buyer's agents are going to love it if the listing agents are helping with this. Buyer's agents want to help make a match for their buyers.
Oh yeah.
And so if we can highlight those things, this family really loves to entertain. Every holiday they have about, 15 family members that come and they really need to be able to see how, they can fit everybody. Well, physically like, the square footage is there, but if it's not set up properly or you're not showcasing it in the right way or not explaining it in a certain way, they may not see that. And AI is not going to solve that problem. It can help you come up with ideas. That's the physical experience that's going to seal that deal, not a picture on the internet that shows a bigger table in the space. Because when they're in the space, they need to feel it.
This goes back, Matt, to what we talked about on an episode we just did of like understanding the buyer and the seller and understanding what do they need? What are they trying to solve? Because this is where I think the real power of a professional realtor stands in line of saying, okay, we're here to make their pictures that they're trying to create work. That's what we're here. We're here to help them get to where they want to go. And asking those questions, you're not overstepping to go like, what are the things that are most important in your buyers? You're setting up this showing and you want to come see this house. Like, what are the most important things they're trying to find in their next house?
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden they might be sitting there and going, you know what? They are equestrians. They love horses. They love all this. And all of a sudden I can go, do you realize that this property actually backs up against open space, like for writing and things like that? It's like, think about that as you're here. Like, I want you to walk down to the fence and stand there and look out, like take them down there so they can see. I'm not going to be there showing this property with you, but you need to take them and show them these things. You have these opportunities, and this is where some of the best, most skilled salespeople, I know people hate being called a salesperson, but this is what you're doing. You're helping people see these things from the right angles with the right light to go, oh my gosh, I can see this. This feels good to me. This solves these problems, where sometimes some of the best solutions are sitting right in front of people, but because the right things haven't been highlighted, they can't see it. Yeah. They don't even know what they're looking at. They need that little piece there, and you got to get there by asking more questions. But we also need to showcase these properties, showcase these pieces that we're selling in the right light. It has to be in the right light.
Totally agree. And I'll say one other thing too here with how we describe properties online or show them. If you have a property that has challenges, don't hide them. I see a lot of people hide them. I remember there was a townhouse that we were selling, and it was a 3-bedroom townhouse, right? Cool. 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Sounds awesome. Yeah. Until you find out that it's a 3-level townhouse with a bedroom on each level. So families aren't really going to enjoy that layout. And so the feedback always is, oh yeah, I don't like the bedrooms and all the different levels. And people are like, well, how do they not know? I mean, it's listed kind of in the stats if they went deep and looked into what was on each level. I'm like, no one's looking at that. We need to just address it up front, like, and just highlight, here's what this is, right? Because that helps you identify the buyer persona. Or what you can see like parking, like, hey, it has a driveway, but is the driveway long enough to actually fit a car in it, right? Or it's like, oh, we can fit 1 car, but if they have 2, we got a problem. These are not, I'm not saying to highlight these things online, but don't hide them, because otherwise now you're just going to waste your time. You're going to have people show up and be like, oh, it's not working because of this functional obsolescence that exists here. And I didn't know that was there. Well, you just wasted everybody's time, including your own and the sellers. So let's not hide these things. Let's come up with a creative solution around it so that we can find the people who maybe won't be bothered by that functional obsolescence and see the opportunity of, because when you look at it compared to compare, it's probably going to be a lower price point for something like that. And the opportunity that exists because of the functional obsolescence. It's okay.
The property that I'm standing in right now was was going through short sales, what it was going through. Like in this home, it's interesting. If I would go to look back on it, they were having a really tough time selling it. This thing had been on the market for a long time. It was not really sold as a fixer upper. It was not really marketed out there as this home's going to require some work. And we had a lot of people, I know a lot of people came through and would get frustrated with whoa, do you see the back deck and things like that? When Sarah and I were brought into this house, we were brought in as it needs a lot. And we were working with the actual sellers, they were our friends. And they were very clear, we've had this listing for a while, but we've been calling this the Fry House for a while, because the Frys don't mind getting their hands dirty. They don't mind swinging hammers. They don't mind, taking some time to remodel things and take time to make it their own. And they're going to make it their own anyway. That's what they do when they get a house. And it all of a sudden presented in that way, we could walk in and go, oh my gosh, there's a huge deck on the back that I can see the rotten boards. I can see the dry rot in it. And they're like, dude, it's okay. You can do that. I know who you are and you can do that, was the conversations that we're having with me. And it was like, yeah, you're right. I will do it. I can do it. We are going to do it. And that's why we're going to get a discount on this property. That's why it's priced the way that it is. But I understand it and I can handle it. It's the putting it in the right light and sharing what the property really is. And that's what allowed us to be very okay with it, of okay, we know what we're getting into. And I think that can easily happen with all this tech. All this stuff out here is that you are building something up sometimes in a way that it can't back up when somebody walks in the door. And I think any of you sitting out here right now, and Matt, this is what's caused this, is that we have homes sitting on the market right now. And they're like, I'm getting all this activity and all these people are circling around it. And I don't get it. They're here, but they're not writing offers. Take a step back for a second and go, have I created a product that doesn't back itself up when people walk in that door? Because I think it might be a bigger issue than people are making it out to be, or even understanding.
Yeah. And I will also say this, it's hard to understand all the nuance to all this stuff. It's easy for us to sit here and talk through it, but these are the conversations you need to have and how you want to look at these things. And yeah, you might make a change and it may not work. You may find something else that's going on. But if you're not trying, if you're not looking for the opportunities to enhance the in-person experience to move a buyer to contract, then you're missing out on opportunity. Nothing's a guarantee, but well, I will say a lack of energy and a lack of effort is a guarantee sometimes to not finding a result. And I'm not saying that y'all out there aren't trying, because I know that you guys are, but just pull up a little bit and just ask yourself, what is it like? Because you may have also walked into this property so many times now that you're not seeing these things. Garrett, you taught me this when you were coaching me as a agent slash manager, which is when people live in a house, and I have this in my house right now, people develop these blind spots, right? Or a scotoma, which is a blind spot.
I haven't used that word in a while, man. Good word.
Yeah. Where like you literally just don't see the issue anymore. You don't see that there's paint missing over here. You don't see that this thing over here is kind of broken, right? And you don't see that when you enter the home, it's missing the wow, because there's this like massive couch with its back facing you that's blocking your flow, because you're used to it. And so if you've been walking through a listing a lot, and same thing when you're talking to these sellers, because they've laid it out the way that works for them, we need to pull back and be really intentional about putting on buyer hats and pretend like we're seeing this for the first time. And then ask yourself, what does this experience feel like? Am I missing something? Do I have a blind spot in my vision that I need to bring to light?
Yeah, this is something that happens naturally, and we've all felt it when working with the seller, and we're like, I don't understand why they don't see these defects in their house or these things that need to be fixed. Like the main windows, I'm actually talking about my own house right now, so just bear with me. But like the main windows that look out of the back over the entire valley, like, don't they notice that those are like the seals have failed on them? And like, that's like, and I've lived with it for so long that I'm just like, you know what? It's a huge window. I got to replace the entire door. The entire door needs to be replaced. It's a double French door out to the backyard. And I don't want to replace the whole door right now. And I'm not just going to replace the glass, but I have become okay with this crappy window that takes away from the entire view of what this house has to offer. And that's a scotoma. I walk past it every single day. I don't notice it, but I guarantee you everybody that walks into our house probably walks in and goes, how do they live with that window? Like really? like that would drive me crazy. Like that's the best part of this house and they can't see it. Like, why is that okay? We've built this scotoma to it. And a lot of people that we're helping with their properties, they've lived in these houses long enough. They don't see these things anymore. And it's actually self-preservation. It's a way of like making sure that you can live in an environment. You become okay with these things.
Yeah.
And it just happens with time.
And sometimes it doesn't take much time at all. Could be.
Well, and that's Matt, what I love what you just said about it is sometimes as the seller or say as the listing agent, you just being around the property long enough and stepping over the broken light on the pathway on the way up to the front door and going like, yep, it's been broken for the last couple of weeks now. You just keep stepping over it. You don't see it anymore. But I guarantee you every person walking to that house goes, that's weird. That light's kind of like tilted and not standing up straight. Like these are scotomas. They can happen fast. It's not a bad thing to take a step back and get some fresh eyes on the situation. So
no doubt. Well, Garrett, I mean, there's that. This is the topic. Yep. Make sure that physical experience matches up to what you're presenting online. And if you're not presenting something awesome online, step that up too. Let's just create the entire end-to-end experience with this crescendo experience. Think of it that way. We want to have a crescendo from what we see online to what we are able to experience in person, so that ultimately people walk away with clarity, which might be is not the house for them, because sometimes you do need to see it to believe it and say like, you know what, we thought it would work, and actually thinking about it, being in it, it's not for us, but it's great, right?
Yep.
But then you get it only takes one, right? And you find that one person who walks in and be like, yep, this is it. Let's do it.
Well, for any of you keeping track of Matt's extensive vocabulary, we have crescendo, we have scotoma, we have, I think there was another one early on, but we'll come back to that later. But just if you're making a list of them, Matt has an amazing vocabulary.
I do not have an amazing vocabulary, but
sir,
thank you.
I appreciate you exploring this with us, with me and with the audience, because again, this is one of those things that, just in our light conversation before we even hit record and just kind of talking about what we're seeing out here right now, we kind of had this realization that this is something that we've seen in the past. I think it might be something that we're dealing with here again a little bit, especially as properties are sitting a little bit longer. Things are still definitely selling out there. But love to know your feedback on this. Love to know what you guys think out there. So if you get a chance, comment in the comments. You can go to YouTube and subscribe. That's super helpful to us. Love to have you subscribe to our channel there. I know by the amount of listeners that we have that listen to the podcast, you are not all subscribed there. And it doesn't cost any money. Don't do anything crazy. Just hit the subscribe button. You don't even need to go watch them there in the future, but it definitely helps us. So I'd appreciate that if you can do it. And as Matt said in the very beginning, if you want to be a part of our world, if you want to have a light part of our world, or maybe jump in all the way and jump into the group coaching program, it usually starts by going and grabbing the app. That'll give you a sense of what we've got going on in there. It'll give you a chance to have a tour and know what's happening in there. And we would love to see you. So with that being said, Matt Benelli, thank you so much. To all of you listening, thank you so much. We appreciate you tons. And we'll be back.
Thanks, everybody.